Good evening. Happy Monday. Welcome to Creations by Julie. I'm Julie. Ed's behind the camera, and we'll try to catch comments tonight during the live or any questions that you might have. I hope we have a good number hop on tonight to figure out easy bows. Is what we're going to be doing tonight. So, see, you found it before I did. I'm going to make sure I can see it. And it's not even giving me my profile. Okay. Ed said Facebook had changed things. All right, let me do a search.
They do it just to confuse me, because I'm not a Facebook person.
Sorry, y'all. I'll be here in a second. Let's see if I can find this. Okay. Now, hopefully I can see comments too. Boy, I tell you what, sometimes you look at that first picture, the little, I think Facebook picks the ugliest face you make, and that's what they put on the little tab.
Sandy Renfro said to speak up, she can't hear.
Oh, okay. Well, we hadn't done anything yet, Sandy, so you're good. Okay, we haven't even drawn names yet. First thing we're going to do is draw a name and see who's going to get the star and the program. It's not programmable. What do I want to say? The candle. Well, it's already programmed. It's a timed candle. Once you put the batteries in and screw the bottom off and the light comes on, when it makes contact, it will stay on for 6 hours, and then it goes off for 18 hours after that. So it's a timed candle, but that's not the word I want to use. Somehow, there's something about Facebook, y'all. The minute you push the live button, your brain dies. I mean, you can't think of words. I get off and I think, man, I didn't tell him this and I didn't tell him that, but I don't want to talk for 30 minutes. So that's why sometimes when we go live, I'm just kind of like all over the place. But anyway, that was the giveaway for last week. I went through today, got all the names, put them in the bag.
Brenda Bracken says hi.
Hi, Brenda. I hope y'all had good weather today. I'm telling you, I think it's supposed to, every day this week, get higher and higher in the 90s. 95, 96, 97, and by Friday, 99. Man. Okay, let's see who our winner is, and we'll announce it again later for those that are a little bit.
Pat Powers said trying to watch you in canning tomatoes.
Oh, I saw you were canning tomatoes. Are they out of your garden, Pat, or did y'all go somewhere and pick tomatoes? Yeah, I tried canning tomatoes one time, and by the time maybe I was doing it all wrong, but by the time I got the skins off and everything, I'm like, shoot, I can buy a can of tomatoes for 50 cents. I'm not going to do this. So we normally give the tomatoes away. Ed just got his first tomato day before yesterday and found about 5 that the birds had already, or something, it was big bites. I'm not sure it was a bird. I'm thinking maybe raccoon. I don't know if raccoon, but anyway, we put up the netting yesterday, so they're safe. We got another one today, and others are coming, but we usually just give them to the neighbors. To me, it's too much trouble to can. I'd rather buy a can of tomatoes. Okay.
Pat said they went to Loxley to the farm market.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know Mama used to love to go somewhere. I'm not sure what market she went to, but she used to love to go pick stuff. Jackie Dunn. I think, Jackie, I don't believe I have your address, so if you will PM me, send me a private message with your address, I will get this out in the mail to you, and I will put a post in there to kind of let her know if she doesn't show up tonight that she won. And I'll save the names, so if I don't hear from her or anything, I still have the names until next Monday. Okay, so you may be wondering what all that was about. I like to give thank you blessings just for those that watch my lives. But it doesn't matter if you're watching the actual live or if you're watching on replay, you're still eligible to win. It's a different mystery word every week, or at least that's what we've been doing the last few weeks, and we're going to keep it up for a couple more. Last week we did the candle. This week, since we're working with making bows, I'm giving away this pretty roll of ribbon. Can you see it?
Yeah.
And so your keyword is going to be ribbon. Hashtag ribbon. And you can, this is from Craft Outlet. It's a real pretty antique-y, I guess you'd say primitive flag ribbon. So that's what for tonight and Thursday night, hashtag ribbon. You can put it in as many times as you want to, y'all. If you want to put it in 3 or 4 times, your name goes in there 3 or 4 times. So for every time you put hashtag ribbon, I will go back and put your name in the bag. And then we draw the next Monday. So it's for 2 lives, and then today Monday, so we drew for last week. So let's get to making ribbons. But first I want to show y'all the plate. Do you remember the plate? Let me get something with the background here. Do you remember the plate I showed you last week with the scarf from the Dollar Tree? This is just a clear plate that we did the reverse decoupage, and this has nothing on it. It doesn't have Mod Podge or anything. It's just, so you can actually use these plates, a salad plate, a dessert plate. This was done with just a little piece of that scarf from the Dollar Tree. And I don't know if you can see it very well. I did not paint the back of this one because I didn't want it to white come through on the red. But anyway, didn't that turn out really pretty? Remember I told y'all, let me fold that. Okay, that kind of gives it a background. And what I did, after, I showed you how to put the Mod Podge on, to lay your scarf on there, figure out what you want in the center. You can do this with napkins, you can do this with dish towels, you can do it with fabric, anything. Just, lay it on there, pat it down good, put Mod Podge over the top. You put Mod Podge on the back side of the plate, laid the scarf down, and then I put a coat of Mod Podge on the top. I let it dry on its own. It does better, so I just turned it upside down and left it on my kitchen table. The next morning, I put another layer of Mod Podge on it. This is actually, and it's the dishwasher safe Mod Podge. This I can put in the sink and wash. So it's got probably 4 coats on it. Between the second and third coat, I just took my scissors and just went, now it's a little rough around the edges, but that's no big deal. If it was paper, napkin, I could sand it with sandpaper. You can't hardly sand the fabric and the scarf, so I just had to take my scissors and get as close to the edge as I could get. Then when you put your Mod Podge on, make sure you get those edges, just don't go over to this side. Just get right around the edge, like that. So anyway, that's the plate from last week.
Barbara Rose Cran's on. She said sorry she's running late.
That's okay, Barbara. We're still here. It's not quite that quick tonight. I don't think it'll take too long to make these bows. But anyway, that's the plate from last week, so I wanted to show y'all the finished product. Okay, and Jackie Dunn won the thank you gift. All right, I'm going to get up and actually work from the side end of the table where you can kind of see my hands. And I hope you're interested in bows, because that's what we're going to do tonight. And for those of you that already know how to do a bow, this may seem very boring. But I wanted to break it down and make it to where step by step, even if somebody had not had any experience with a bow, you can do this using clothespins, believe it or not. The easiest one and the simplest one that I'm going to show you is like this. Now this is with a 2.5-inch ribbon. So let's talk about your ribbon first and bows. You can use tulle. You see that a lot in weddings to make bows. You see, and when you buy a flower from the florist, it's usually got a bow stuck down in the plant. That's not made with wired ribbon. You can make bows out of just the ribbon like that. They don't hold up like the regular ribbon and the stiffer. But if you talk to a wreath maker, we always use wired ribbon.
Thank you, Miss Phyllis Brubaker, for the 100 stars.
Yes, thank you. That helps me with my shipping out for my freebies. Okay, so
Brenda Bracken said we can always learn new things.
yeah, and Brenda, I know you can make a bow, so, but I know a lot of people can't. And you know, I have 3 different bow makers. One of them is Pro Bow the Hand. It's fairly expensive, and so many pieces. I just hate dragging it out. I haven't used it forever. There's one called the Easy Bow Maker that I use most of the time when I use a bow maker. Normally, it's just easier for me to grab the ribbon and make it by hand. So I'm going to have to back up a little bit and try to do this slow and steady for y'all. But if you wanted to make a simple one like this, that's basically just 4 loops, 2 on each side, and 1 set of tails, I'm going to show you how you do that. If you wanted to do 3 loops, you could do it the same way. You're just going to do the bottom 2 the same size, okay? All right, so this works better really with a 2.5-inch ribbon. You can do it with a narrower ribbon, but it just makes a bigger statement with a 2.5-inch. So this is the only one I'm actually gonna use my glue gun. Let me get it over here. And you wouldn't have to, but if you want the little button in the middle, that's where you use your glue gun. Okay, so what you're gonna do to make this one, you wanna do your tails first, and then just do roughly, however long you want your tails. Probably, let's just do 24 inches. And I'm gonna find my scissors. What do I do with them? Okay, so you're gonna cut one piece at 24 inches. And the good thing about this is y'all can go back. I really shouldn't be cutting ribbon with these scissors, but that's what I have in here. You can go back and watch the replay of this and stop it and fast forward and go back and back up. And all right, I'm gonna go ahead and do what they call dovetail. This is just your normal slanted ribbon, and cut, that's fine if that's what you want to do. But if you want to do the pointed ones, you take your ribbon and you put the 2 ends together. So you've got it, the middle there.
Brenda Bracken says I love that ribbon.
I love both of these. Which one? This is the newer one. This was from last year, I think. I got this ribbon from Craft Outlet. All right, and then you're going to take it and fold it. I start at the folded edge and go up to my wire. You're going to do like a V right to the edge. And that makes the V cut. They call it a dovetail. Okay, then just kind of take your ribbon right here in the middle and squish it up. This is going to be our tails for our bow. Okay? And then I just set that aside. All right, next what you're going to want to do for this bottom layer is cut a piece of ribbon about 22 inches. And y'all, sometimes I don't measure. Now there's no reason to dovetail this because you're going to fold this to get your center of that ribbon. Then you're going to take it and you're going to bring each end just a little past the center. All right, and I'm going to measure. This is about 10.5, so my center is going to be 5 1/4. So I want to make sure I can catch all of these. If you want to, you can go ahead and just kind of scrunch the ribbon like this. Fold it to make sure your ends are the same. You don't want it lopsided. All right, you can take a clothespin and just clip that. Now, if you want to go ahead and add this to the bottom, your tails are going to go in the back, so you could just clip it all together like that.
Karen,
okay?
Karen says, hi guys.
Hey, Karen. All right, so that's one piece. If you want to do 3 loops, you would do 2 pieces at 22 inches, okay? So the next piece I'm going to do shorter. I'm going to do about 18 inches. Let's see if that's short enough. And then I'm going to do the same thing. I'm going to take it, find my center. And if you have to put it on a board and measure, then that's okay. But I can tell my fold is right there, so I'm just barely going to go over the fold on this side. And barely go over the fold on this side. And it's just a little more than 8, so it's going to be about right there, 4 1/4. And then I'm going to make sure I kind of call this a flat bow because you don't fluff it till the very end. All right, then you're going to take this one, take your clothespin out, just hold it with your thumb and your finger and put this one right on top of it, just like that. But you want to make sure, set it down and make sure they're kind of even. Because you don't want one a lot bigger than the other or lopsided. And that's pretty much your bow. Then you're going to take a pipe cleaner. Let's use a white one. And just go right there between them. It doesn't matter that that's out. Then to double check that you're in the center, take your two and make sure they're the same, like this, so that you've got the same on each side. Then you're going to take it and twist. You're going to actually twist your ribbon, not your pipe cleaner. It makes a tighter twist on the ribbon, okay? And then put your pipe cleaner out. That's what you're going to use to put it on your wreath or whatever. Bring your tails down, okay? So that's kind of what you've got. It's a flat. Now I want to put a piece of fabric. I don't want to see that pipe cleaner. I want to take a piece of fabric. You can either take a piece of this and just, cut off a little bit. You can't put it that wide though. So like fold it in and then fold it in to make it a little narrower. You could put white there, you could put red there, whatever you want to do. And then you're just going to cover that pipe cleaner. And I'm going to put a little bit of glue on my pipe cleaner. This is kind of making the button. And I just do one side, and then I pull it tight, back over. Of course, it's not going to take that much, so I'm going to make sure I overlap and cut that off. Pull it tight and glue it in the back. And you might have, since it's folded, you might have to put a little bit of glue right there. This is pretty much the only time I use glue on a bow is if I'm putting the button on it. But you see what you have? This is what you would use to put it to whatever. Bring your tails down. Get my glue strings out. Take my pipe cleaners and put them straight. All right. I mean, you could leave it like that if you want to, but you need to fluff, and that's where your thicker ribbon, this is like a canvas ribbon, and it will hold its shape. So you just, wreath makers fluff and fluff and fluff and fluff bows. And then you're just going to fluff it, you just open up the loops, and that's it. I mean, that's how quick you've got a bow made. To go on a wreath, to go on a big picture. And like I said, if you wanted to do 3 layers, you could, but there you go. That's how quick and easy. So it was, I did my tail. You do your tails however long you want to. These were 24 inches. Then I did one strip at 22 inches, fold it in half. One strip at 18, fold it in half.
Brenda Bracken says love it.
Now see, had I looked a little closer, I probably would have tried to center that star, but I'm kind of anal like that, I probably would have moved this down to where my star was right in the middle. But who's going to notice that? Probably nobody but me and maybe another wreath maker. But anyway, that's the easiest way to do a simple, simple bow. Any questions on that bow? We'll get a little bit harder with each one, but this was the simplest. This would look fine on a rag wreath, on a burlap wreath. In fact, it would look real pretty on a burlap wreath, which is probably what we're going to do Thursday, is make a burlap wreath. Okay. So that's all I'm going to use this. And like I said, if you want to do 3, you could. And if you want to use the smaller ribbon, you could. You could do these 2 colors. You know, you could put a little button, just a loop right there, where you had a tall button there. Okay, so that's that one. Okay, next I'm going to show you how to make one like this. If you like a round, fluffy bow, this looks very full, right? But they're more you've got twice the tails as you've got the loops. It makes it really full and fluffy. And you can see what I'm talking about, the ribbon. I like the canvas ribbon that will hold its shape. Some of you, I do not use ribbon from the Dollar Tree because it's like a satiny and it's thin. And, you know, to practice with, it would be great. But now let me show you how you're going to use clothespins. I would just do this one and do it holding it in my hand. But I'm going to break it down and show you how to do it with clothespins. And you might want to write the measurements down. This finished bow from end to end measures right at 10 inches across and doesn't have long tails. You could add long tails to it by just adding longer tails like we did that one on the bottom. But I'm going to show you how I did that. And I'm going to use I'm going to use, this is actually like the ribbon I'm giving away. Now it's not as thick as that, but it's still thick enough that, see, it will hold a loop. Okay, and this is where we're just going to start really, really simple. And we're going to do 1 loop at a time, okay?
Brother Brackett says, "You're such a wonderful teacher. Wish you were my line dancing teacher."
Well, that wouldn't be good because I don't know how to line dance. Now, I can square dance. Line dance, no. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is, and I'm going to measure to make sure they're all about the same. Most of the time now when I get ready to make a bow, I don't measure it. I mean, I just put it in my hands and do it. But I'm going to show you how you can measure and get your bows to look the same every time. So you're going to start with like, and I don't like to do big loops. I've never done more than a 7. I'm normally like a 5. And that's kind of what we're going to do here. I just like them smaller. I don't like the great big ones. So I'm going to start, I'm going to call my tails 6 inches and just scrunch it right there at the 6, okay? Don't worry about your dovetail or what you're going to do with your tails. Then you're going to measure from 1 to 10. Okay? Scrunch it right there at the 10. That's 10 inches.
Between the scrunches.
Yeah. That is your 5-inch loop. Okay? I hold it between my thumb and my pointer finger. Okay? And that's all you're going to do for now. Cut off right where the other tail is at. Okay? So that's what you've got. Now, you want the pretty ribbon always facing up. So you're just going to hang on to it right there tight and then just twist. And I'm telling you, the whole twist is the whole key to making a bow. But with this, you're just going to twist one little twist so that you basically have kind of like a the awareness ribbon, kind of. You've got your loop, 2 tails, okay? Hold it right there and put a clothespin on it. Just like that. Do 4 of these. Same thing. 6. Scrunch it. I need my thing to hold my ribbon. It's getting all yucky. Go from 1 to 10. That's going to give you your 5-inch loop. Scrunch it at 10, bring it back, pinch it in your fingers. There's your loop. Here's your tail. Cut the top tail the same size as the bottom one. Twist that bottom, and it'll twist under there. Just twist it where you can see the pretty part of your ribbon. Lay it down, put a clothespin on it. Or any kind of clip you've got. Okay, that's 2. I think that one I did 4. Yeah. All right. 6. Then I'm holding it at the 1 to 10. Scrunch all that together. Kind of, pull out your loop a little bit. And then I'm going to cut this one. Doesn't have to be perfect. All right, take this one and twist it. Doesn't matter what side it's on. You just want to scrunch right there, because that's where you're going to put your, you could use a zip tie, but I'm just going to show you with a pipe cleaner. Put a clothespin on it. All right, that's 3. We're going to do another one. This will give us 2 loops this side on each side. If y'all have any questions, put them in the comments and Ed will stop and we'll get those questions answered. All right, so 5-inch loop. You could make these loops larger if you want to. Some people like to do 6-inch. It's just up to you. 5 is my favorite. Then I'm going to turn my ribbons to where they're all up. Okay. So you're going to have 4 that size. All right, now we're going to go down about 1 inch. And I'm only going to do 2 this size. So I'm going to go to the 5, scrunch my tail, and then I'm going to go to the 9, which is going to make a just a little bit smaller of a loop. It's about a 4.5-inch loop. Cut off the tail. It's all done the same way. Twist it. Lay it down on something. If you have trouble with your hands, doesn't matter if the tails are off a little bit. All right. Now start, don't get this one confused with those, so start you another thing of them. Do 1 more of that size. 5 and 9. Loop it, scrunch it all together. Cut off the bottom. Okay, twist it.
And you're just cutting the bottom the same size as the other tail.
Close to it. Doesn't have to be perfect, but yeah. You've got basically a 4.5, if you were to measure it. Your loop is 4.5 inches, and then your tails are like 4 inches by the time you squeeze there. You've got like 4 inches out here. It just helps make the bow fuller. All right, I did 2 that size. Now I'm going to do 1 more set, and I'm going to go down another inch. So I'm going to go to 4 this time.
Barbara Rosecrans says, I've never seen a bow made like this. Glad to see a different way.
Well, I mean, it kind of comes out the same as if you just put it in your hand and made it, but this is just breaking it down for you. If you can do this if you've never made a bow. You can measure and make a loop.
Brenda Bracken wants to know the name of the bow.
I don't have a name for it. It's pretty much just like the...
Looks like a poofy bow.
No, they call it... What do they call the one with all the tails, Brenda? With the pro bow the hand. Was it the Leah bow? I don't remember, but it's the one that has more tails than it does loops. All right, this time I'm going 4 inches, and I'm going down to 7. No.
Terry bow.
Terry bow, yes. I'm going to the 8. So you've got 4 and 8. Scrunch it. And you're going to do 2 of these. This is your very top of your bow. Yeah, it's basically like the terry bow. You're just not using Easy Bow Maker. This is one of my favorite bows, but I usually make it not piece by piece. But you definitely can do it. The next bow I'm going to show you kind of puts it all together. All right, you want those separate because they're smaller. So 4 inches scrunch, 8 inches. Brenda, all I did was kind of break it down and figure out the easiest way I could show it, step by step. A lot of people have trouble holding ribbon in their hands. All right, you're still turning all your loops the same. Okay, here's my pin. Okay. Let me get that clothespin on there. All right, so I've got 2 smaller ones, 2 kind of medium, and 4 of the larger. Now, I'm going to give you a little tip if you still have trouble holding in your hands. You can do this real easy if you want to cut a pipe cleaner in half and break up your bow. It won't change the way it looks. It'll just make it easier than you having to put it all in your hands. If I was doing this, well, I would have done all this together. I'd have done these 4 loops and then quit. All right, so you're going to take your loops. It's almost like part of the Lisa bow. Do you remember when Brenda, that she does 1 loop and 2 loops? And then she has 2 tails and a loop and then 2 loops. It's kind of like that. You're going to take one and hold it like this. All right, you've got your 2 tails on this end. When you take your next one, you're going to flip it and put it right on top. I'm holding it with those 2 fingers. So I've got my 2 tails on this side and a loop and 2 tails on this side. That would be one thing. Does that make sense? So then
somebody sent some more stars and
that's okay. I'll see them later maybe. Okay, so now you're going to stack these 4. So this one is going to go this way. Take your thumb when you remove the clothespin, hold it with just your thumb. This one is going to turn and go this way. Now this would be a pretty bow, just this. Of course, then you want to fix your things. All right, I would take it and keep building on my bow. But if you want to cheat, go ahead and take your pipe cleaner. This is the bottom of your bow. Take your pipe cleaner. This is your base of your bow. They're all the 4 the same size. Put that pipe cleaner around the center and twist. And if you wanted to stop with just this, you could, depending on what you were making. But to save your hands, that's the bottom part of your bow. It hasn't been fluffed. You know, it has nothing to it yet. It's just those 4 loops, okay? Now you're going to add these 4 to it. So take the medium ones, same way. This one, I don't worry about which way it goes. You just want to make sure the second one goes the opposite way. Is everybody understanding what I'm doing there? So that when you put these 2 together, you've got 2 loops and 4 tails. Okay? All right, now I'm going to do the smaller ones. And I do want to start on that side.
Robert says yes.
Okay. I'm putting the loop, 2 tails.
Brenda says yes.
Okay. I'm twisting this one this way.
Karen Hunter says yes.
Okay, good.
Well, I'm glad y'all followed it because she lost me.
Okay, now I just put that one on upside down. Hang on. Let me put it that way. But I want my loop on this side and my 2 tails on that side. This is the top of your bow. That's why you go smaller. Now you're going to take all of this. You could twist this one off. Let's just go ahead and do it. To where you've got 2 pieces. Like I said, anybody can do this. All right, you got 2 pieces. I would go ahead and clip. I would go ahead and clip these off. these pipe cleaners. You could use a zip tie on each one of them. Okay, so you've got this and you've got this. I'm going to clip this one off too. I'm going to put these two together and make my bow. All right, so there's my bottom. Here's my top. Okay, I'm just going to put them together with a pipe cleaner. Fold the pipe cleaner in half and make sure you get right down the center of both of them. This one's so full you do not see that pipe cleaner in the middle, so there's no reason to put. I usually take it and kind of just pull on it and fold it and twist, and then I twist the ribbon. Okay, now your fluffing starts and cutting your tails. So I take the pipe cleaner and fold it out that way, lay my bow over, and I kind of start at the back. And you're going to have two loops. Put your fingers in the loops and pull them, separate them, okay? Separate your tails. This is your middle loop. Just separate the tails. I'm just fluffing it basically. And I'll go back and cut my tails. All right, same here. Take these two and separate them. This one's in the middle, and then you've got this one. You want this one the opposite of this, kind of, pretty much. Okay, make sure all your tails. See, you don't have near as many loops as you have tails. All right, now we're going to go back and we're going to dovetail. And I usually start at the back. You want your tail about the same length as your fluffing. Now, if you wanted long tails on this, right before you put those two together, you would have pulled out, you could do 2 or 3 or 4 tails. I mean, you just pull out the length you want, cut it, push it together, and it goes right here in the center hanging down. You could do 4 tails on this if you wanted to, or more. Depends on how much of the ribbon you want to use. Okay, I start at the back with my tails. And you're going to fold it, cut from the fold up, and I like to do about the length of my bow, my loop. Okay? And then I just go around and find all the tails and cut them. You're going to have twice the tails as you got loops. So I should have like, what, 8 tails around the bottom? And, you know, they don't all have to be the same. They don't all have to be perfect. You just want to make sure that you don't miss any. You can turn it over and do the bottom ones first. Doesn't matter, you know, which way you fold it, as long as you go from the fold out. Okay, I think I got all those on the bottom. I'm going to come in and get these. I usually like to start with the longer ones and come in. And you're only going to have about 4 kind of at the top.
Barbara Rosecrans says, I like this way. I'm sure it'll help me make a better bow with my broken wrist.
Oh, yeah, yeah. And, you know, use as many pipe cleaners, cheaters as you need to, and then put them all together. So I guess basically it would be called the Terry bow because it's got the difference. And you could mix up your ribbon. You don't have to do the same ribbon. You can do different colors. I could have added red in here. You just want to make sure you get all those tails done. There's one. Didn't do. And of course, then you fluff it again. Then you put it on something and then you fluff it again. Then if you sell it, then you fluff it again. So it seems like as a wreath maker, you're constantly fluffing. What I mean by is putting your hands in there and opening up those loops. So we're going to start at the bottom, go back through. I'm going to find those 4 loops, open them up, and then I'm going to, if I need to move the tails around, you can do that. There's one I missed again, one of the shorter ones. And then you just fluff it up the way until you get it the way you like it. By you having several two pipe cleaners on there, you can pretty much do what you want to and turn these ribbons any way you want to. And since it doesn't have tails on it, just put it on your project however you like the way it looks. If you like this to be the end of it, I'm not sure I like how that one's turning. There, you can kind of manipulate them. So you take your tails and kind of, if they're long enough, take your fingers and run on them and curl them kind of up and out. And the longer ones, just kind of push them out. So that pretty much makes more of a rounded bow. See, it's quite different than this one. And like I said, if you wanted to add tails to this, I would do them about 24 inches. And it's not too late to add them. I think it probably, depending on what you were putting it on, might need more than just 2 tails. It would need 4.
Sandy Renshaw says, I've never seen one done this way. I'll have to give it a whirl tomorrow.
And then, see, you can always just add the tails to the back here, even after you get it made. It just makes your pipe cleaner just a little bit, it makes your pipe cleaner a little bit shorter. And y'all know that you can curl tails. I mean, you can just take them and curl them like this. Put them kind of tight and curl. Curl them up. This looks really pretty if you have quite a few tails coming down. And then just take the end of it and pull on it and let it kind of fall. I might should have pulled it the other way. Sometimes the thinner ribbon does better on the curls. Sometimes I leave them curled up for a couple of days and then pull on them. And you can curl all the ribbons, or you can have them straight. Okay, so that was this one. Now, I do realize you've got to watch your ribbon, because when you're twisting and turning, this is hard to do if your ribbon has words on it, because you want your words running in the right way. See, like this, the flag, it's kind of upside down. But when it's grouped together like this, I don't think it's a big deal. Now, if it was a pattern that I wanted to make sure, I would make sure I turned them and flipped them over to where I always had like the flag at the top. Does that make sense? Okay, so that's bow number 2. What y'all think? You think you can try that one? It took 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 clothespins. Because you had 4, 2, and 2. 4 clothespins to do that one. And it makes a very full bow. I would say it's, what would you say, Ed? At least 4 inches, if not 5. And when I sell my wreaths, I always take tissue paper, wad it up, and put in between these loops so that it holds. Most people don't know how to fluff a bow. So you want something to where when they get their bow, it's not flattened, okay? So there's one with, and you can see it kind of makes it, this is really stiff, but they have the same number of loops and stuff. but the ribbon's a little different from this one. It's a little thinner. So, okay, so that's that one. That's bow 2. Now I'm going to show you, this is with like some satin ribbon. And it's kind of made on the same order, but I'm going to show you how to hold it in your hands and do it. And it has, I think, the same number of tails as it has loops. Okay? And I don't think I measured those, but I'm going to do this with 2, I'm going to try it, with this ribbon and this ribbon, and we'll see. Okay, so this is bow 3. All right, I didn't do long tails on that one, so I won't do on this one either. Okay, kind of the same thing. The bottom ones are going to be about 6 inches. You can measure if you want to. You can do 10, which would be 5 inch, or you could do 11 and it would be like 5.5. Let's do this one 11. Okay, now instead of cutting this off, here's your twisting. Hold it in your hands, and I usually always kind of hold it back here with my thumb when I get it going. Okay, you want to, there's 2 ways you could do this. Easiest way, I usually twist because you always want to twist. Okay, and then do 11 again. Bring this back to where you've got your ribbon like this. Now, if you want your flag, you're going to have to do it this way, to where the top's up, go to 11, bring it to the bottom. Okay? Like this. So see, a while ago, we had 2 tails. Now you're going to, this is where you twist it. I'm going to figure out how I'm going to twist it so my flag is at the top. Okay, so normally you want the pretty showing, but this is going to have to come this way for the flag to be at the top. So you want your tails to be the same. You can measure. I go to 11, gather it together, and bring it back down this way to my thumb. Those should be the same size, and it keeps the flag at the same. Now all of a sudden I'm down here, and I am going to have to twist it and go to 11 and bring it back to where the flag's at the top. I still got it in those 2 fingers, and you kind of work with it as you do it, okay? What I was going to show you is, instead of doing all 4, is just to do 2 to make it easier. But I want to show you how, if you wanted to keep going. And y'all, don't be afraid to just practice and try. You can undo a bow. If you have to iron the ribbon, iron the ribbon. But you can undo it and do it back. All right, I'm going to do the 11 and to the center. And if you want to, I'm just guessing at the tail, doesn't matter. You can use your clothespin for this one if you want to. I usually just put it in my hand like this. And then I do another one. So I'm going to go 6.
Brenda Bracken says I'm not very good at making bows by hand.
11. It just takes practice, Brenda. The more you make, you know, the better you get at it. Now see this, I've got to twist it and put it up so that my thing is in the, and then just cut off a tail. I didn't measure it. Okay, and then I'm going to put it on top of this one. Oh, that's a tail. There's no way to get the tails to where the flag is always on the top. All right, so that's my 4. Instead of having 4 separate ones with 8 tails, I've got 4 tails. Okay, I would take, you can zip tie it. You can take, I'm going to take the bigger clothespin and see if that works. Put those together, okay? All right, now I'm going to change ribbon. Which a good thing, that's getting. But by the way, y'all, this is the ribbon that's the thank you gift this week. All right, I'm going to add this ribbon to it for my smaller ones. And I don't have another beige pipe cleaner, so I'm going to use white. That's all right. So I'm going to do 6. I'm going to do about, let's see, 9, because that was 11. I'm going to do 9. And see, then I just take it and hold it and pull on it to make sure it's the same and scrunch it right there. All right, I'm going to do another one. Now you could do one more if you wanted to. I'm going to put these 2 on top of each other. See, your 1.5 makes more of a, kind of a floppy bow, a loopity-loop bow. If you watch Nick from Nick's Seasonal Decor, he does a lot of 1.5 inch ribbon, and he makes a lot of the bigger loops for his grapevines. Which is fine because then he goes back and he pulls them up and he puts greenery under them. All right, let's see if I think that's enough. Let's see what that's going to look like. All right, I'm going to take this one, hold it like that, and put it on top of this one. All right, I think, now there again, you could cheat. Get them to hold them together. Go ahead and put your tie on there. I think I'm going to do one more and make it smaller because these are still pretty big. So I'm going to go smaller. At 4 and 7. So I needed some smaller ribbon right here in the middle. I like to use zip ties, but you usually have to put your bow down, you know, and really get the zip ties on there good. So I'm just going to tighten that really tight so that I can pull on my ribbons and fluff them out. Now see, I haven't put any kind of tail on this one either. I think on this one I probably would put a tail of this. And let's see if I have enough of that other. Here it is. The only thing about doing the tails with this one is the only way you could have your flag both at the right place, let me think here a second. It's just not going to matter. You could cut it, glue it, turn, you know, like cut this and turn it around, and it would work. But I'm not going to do that. Okay. But I think on this one, with the 2 types of ribbon, I would add, if you're going to put tails, I would just add the tails like that. I probably would undo it and add the tails, but okay. And then you want to make sure when you go to fluff it, pull your tails, the long tails. These others I'm going to cut. These long ones, pull them down straight. And then we'll worry about cutting them in a minute. All right, so when I'm going to fluff this one out, I'm going to start with these on the bottom. And you always have to fluff and play with a bow. You cannot you can't just make one and it's perfect. If you have to twist it, you know, twist it and fluff. And then that's going to be the shorter one. So I'm just going to kind of fluff it. Like fluff my loops a little bit so that I can see them and then figure out where I want all these tails to go. Start with the longer tails at the back. I said, don't be afraid to pull on that ribbon and fluff it out. Now these, I don't know how that's going to look dovetail. I'm going to see. Yeah, it looks fine. And you got one here. That must have been the end of the ribbon.
Barbara said, Barbara Rosecrans says she can't do that in her hand anymore.
Yeah, it does make your hand ache, especially if your ribbons are pretty thick ribbons. But you definitely could use the trick with the pipe cleaner and the clothespins. Just if you have to do each section separate. Like I said, I very seldom use any of my bow makers anymore. All right, see, that is not one of my long tails. That was just one I cut long, so I'm going to cut it off shorter. And you have to fluff several times. You kind of have to, see that one looks a little long. I mean, it's not that one, it's this one. Maybe I just need to put it in a different spot. So you do a lot of playing with them and just get them the way you want them. If you want to swap those and do them that way, just twist it, and because you don't want to see that pipe cleaner. And you want to bring the tails all down. And at least have them close. So these two are shorter. I try to make sure my bottom tails are sort of the same. Maybe a little off, but sort of the same. Okay, so there's that one. And see, every time you turn around, you're having to fluff. See, you fluff it like this, and then sometimes I don't even bother to fluff it that much until I get it on my wreath. And then depending on, and that's another thing, if you put bows in wreaths, don't put them on so tight that your bow sinks down into the wreath. You want your bow kind of sitting on top of your mesh or on top of your grapevine. Okay, so that's how it would look with two colors and two sizes of ribbon. See, it's not as big and fluffy as this one that's just done with the 2.5. So it just depends on how you do them and what ribbon you use as to what they look like. This one, I think the loops are a little bit bigger too, but That's the third bow. And like I said, that one I did part in my hand, but basically it's instead of doing every single one, I did two together, then pin it. And then two together and pin it instead of individuals. You see this one's a lot fuller because it's got all of the tails. This one has more tails than it does loops, and this one has more loops than it does tail. But they're both very easy, very simple. So, I hope you've learned a little bit about making a bow tonight, and you can tell from all these different ones, they're made the same way, but they look totally different. This would be beautiful on a package. And it's actually like a country church with snowflakes. But I mean, these are plenty big enough for a wreath. And then there's just kind of what I call a flat bow, like this. So, that was the bows for tonight. A little bit longer to do the bows, but normally you're just making one bow, so it doesn't take that long. And again, I'll say Jackie Dunn, I'll make sure I don't lose any of these straight pins in the floor. Jackie Dunn is the winner of our star and our candle. So Jackie, if you're on or if you watch the replay, send me by private message, send me your address and I'll get that out in the mail to you. And this week, the gift is #ribbon, and it's this roll of flag ribbon from Craft Outlet is going to be. I think on Thursday I'm going to show you, and I've shown it to you before, but we have some newbies. I'm going to show you the simplest, easiest wreath that you can make, and it's a burlap wreath. You can get the rolls of the tan burlap. Walmart's the cheapest, and you need 2 rows to do a burlap wreath. So I think they have 30 feet on them. The ones you get at Hobby Lobby, you need like 4 rows because they only have 15 feet. But I believe the ribbon is on sale this week at Hobby Lobby. But I'm going to show you how to do that, and then I may show you a different bow, one done with a bow maker or something. We'll see. But I hope you learned something different tonight, and like I said, go back and watch the replay and stop it and start it. It's just a matter of measuring and putting a simple little clothespin on it and then putting it together.
Thank you, ladies, for all the stars.
Yes, and thank you for being here and hanging with me tonight. We will see you Thursday night at 6 o'clock. Bye, y'all.